such as printing or exporting the grid. So let's take a typical scenario that happens in the core reporting agency a lot. It's called settlement list. Let's say client is on the phone, they're settling a particular case and they like to have a list of all invoices regardless of their payment status. So when that happens, I usually go to a function called inquiry, and I'll go into a function called client activity. And let's say the law firm Bergsteiner Chapman is on the phone. So again, looking at the gray field, I always click the binoculars button, and we just put in any part of the name. And I can just, since that Bergsteiner Chapman is already highlighted, at this point, I can either right-click on that name and do a select, or I can actually also hit the enter key here. So with the Bergsteiner Chapman selected, I can do search to show me all invoices for this client. Now, since they said they are settling a particular case, I'm going to apply one more filter, the case name. So I'm going to click on that binoculars again next to the case name filter, and this time let's say it is the case of Akron Engineering something. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on that and do a search again. This time it's going to limit all my invoices to one case, Bill versus Akron, for the client of Bergsteiner Chapman. Now, so once I have the grid, and what can I do with this? Well, first of all, you can print the grid by simply right-clicking on it and go to print preview, and you can say all data, and then it'll give you a screen where you can print out the grid. Now, if you do not want the entire grid, you can also do selections. Now, there are two ways you can select any grid, any roads, number of roads. For example, if I want any random roads, that you use the control key. So you press the control key down on your keyboard as you click any row you want. So I'm going to go control key down, click this one, this one, this one. So you can click any number of roads with the control key pressed down. And then if I do print preview of selected data, then I'll only get 4 rows there. Now, what if I want a contiguous area? Then, well, then you use shift click. So for example, I click the first row I want, and then I press the shift key down, then I'll click the last row. And then it'll highlight a contiguous area, which then I can use that print preview selected data function again. But my guess will be that since you need to send this list to your client, let's say paralegal or secretary, who like to add additional columns, additional data before she can present it to the settlement committee. So by far, probably the best choice will be, rather than printing yourself and faxing or emailing it, simply go ahead and export this list to an Excel spreadsheet. So all you have to do is simply right-click, and there is an export function, and there will be an option called Excel, and simply click on Excel. And this will simply drop the entire grid onto the Excel sheet. And then you can just do a cleanup of the sheet the way you want it by simply, for example, if the client will not need a BU, the business unit column, that means nothing to them, for example, just highlight the column and say, I like to delete the entire column. Okay? So this way you can clean up the list before you can simply go ahead and email this Excel spreadsheet to your client.